Hey guys, and welcome back to our first ever live track versus track. And it's going to be a good one. And sorry it got delayed by a week or so. Uh, we were going to do it last Monday before I went away on vacation. We had some scheduling conflicts, and we weren't able to do it. So we're doing it tonight in place of Wednesday night's live feed. And this is the first time. So I hope a lot of people join. If you're joining in, if you're here live watching it, be sure to comment in the comments. We're going to try to keep up with it and try to comment on you guys as we talk about this. And so we'll just go ahead and get started right with it. I'm going to bring in my co-host, Carla. And there she is.
Hello.
And let's go ahead and bring in Miss Emily Graziano.
Yay.
So how are you guys? How are you ladies today? How are you doing?
Good. Really good.
Yeah,
Really
good.
excited.
Awesome. So can we all hear each other pretty well? Can you hear me? And I can hear both of y'all. So
Oh, good. Good.
all right.
Yep, I'm good.
So we're doing this right on the fly. We didn't get a chance to. I talked to Emily just before, and me and Carla's done this before. So I just want to make sure Emily was good. So we will. I'm going to drag my feet a little bit to get the time for people to get in here like we usually do when we're live. And so a couple things, two or three things. One, I'm kind of lucky to be here. Went away to a trip. I don't know, some of you follow me on Facebook. Went away on a trip to the Outer Banks last Wednesday, a week from today, actually, last week. And the second day we were there, it had rained a lot the night that we got in. And the second week we were there, we were staying on in a house that was right on the beach. And we had to walk down this boardwalk and then had to go down these steep, like 15 steps down. And I was about 3 steps down, and I turned around to help a couple of my little grandkids. One was 3 and the other's 4. And I turned around and kind of reached to help them, and I slipped and I fell down like 10 feet of stairs and into the sand, twisted and busted my ankle up really bad. And my knee is hurting, and my whole side, my left side is hurting. So, but I'm good. You can't kill the old man, 51 years old, and I got up within about a minute or two. So, thankfully, luckily, nothing's broke. Maybe some strains and some sprains, but nothing's broke, and managed to still have a pretty good week and weekend with family. So I'm happy to be here. And the other thing is, this is kind of a big deal where I'm from. The area that I'm in, I know we always talk about brews, and I haven't talked about a brew in a while. I kind of been laying off of them, but this only comes around once a year. And it's one of my favorite breweries. It's close by to me, does this. And this is actually, it's called Peanut Butter and Jelly Time. And this is actually a brown ale that is actually made with strawberries, like this tastes and smells like a strawberry peanut butter sandwich that is in a beer. It tastes so good. And so I'm going to be drinking. This is a little bit taller of a regular can because it comes in a 4-pack. So I'm going to be drinking on this tonight. This is my first one for the year. And there's my boy, AJ Zetro. So I know that he can appreciate these. If you don't follow him on Instagram, you're missing out. He constantly posts about beer. He also posts about horror and has horror trivia, which is really cool. But yeah, there's you one right there, AJ. I don't know if you can get it up there where you live. It's usually a pretty local distribution, but they have started distributing it out a little further and further. I mean, when I say it tastes like a peanut butter jelly sandwich, it does. Let's see. I see you guys coming in. We're going to look at you guys in a minute. Another thing while I'm dragging my feet is you guys know I've been rebuilding my Kiss collection that I lost. I've got something come into the Kiss room this past week. It was just before I went away on vacation that I've never owned. And I'm going to full screen me here just for a second, ladies, so I can show this because it's pretty big. I've never owned one of these. And it just trips me out to think that this was probably bought by somebody at a tour in 77 or 78. But this is new to me. This is the big, huge Kiss 77 and 78 tour book. And I'm just going to kind of show it here for a few minutes for those of you who have not maybe have seen this before. I got this in really good condition. I have tried to win several auctions on eBay for this, and I've seen them go up as high as upwards of $200. And I just happened to snag this one. I got really lucky. It was an auction that didn't get a whole lot of views. And I got this one for less than $100. And it's in great shape. It's in great, great shape for the condition that it's in. I haven't even read this part yet. I haven't got to read it, but I'm going to be sure to read that part. I've always seen these, but I've never owned one. This is that picture sideways there, but this is the first time I've ever owned this one. So I'm going to have to find somewhere really cool to put it. That's one of my favorite pictures of Kiss ever. And I know it's just Ace, but that's one of my favorite pictures ever. And then we got Paul and Gene on the next to the last page here. And then Peter and Ace. And then the back. And I know Rick made a video about this, and he talked about that there was a Alive 2 version and a double platinum version. My version is the Alive 2 version. And then it's got them in Japan on the back. So, all right. So let's bring everybody back in. Whoops. Hold on. Hold on. Let me I got rid of them and then I brought them back. There we go. I thought that when I did that, it took you guys out of it, and I went to bring back in, and it was Carla. All right. So I'm gonna do us like this because I don't like us like all up next to each other like that. It just makes me kind of claustrophobic. I know we're not, we're literally, hundreds of miles away from each other, but we're all like that. We're like right up next to each other. It kind of bothers me. Not that nothing against you guys. It's just I'm weird. You guys know this by now. All right, so we're here to talk about track versus track. And if you are live in, let's see who we got in here. Let's scroll up just for a second. So we got Cecil. I see Cecil. James Dean, Super Kiss 1300, John Edwards Karaoke, AJ Zetro, Ronnie Parker. Let's see, Mark Stewart. See if I see Sublime 130, as usual. Let's see. And that's everybody I see so far. We got 21 watching. Not everybody has spoken in. And if we catch your comments, I'll be sure to pop them in the bottom there. Feel free to interact with us. And they can see your Carla and Emily can see the comments also. So if you guys want to chime in on a comment that you see or something like that, that's perfect. So we are going to be having the debut album Against Rock and Roll Over. And we'll talk about the tracks. We'll go down through them, and then we'll talk about our favorite cover at the end. And we'll talk about the panel really quick, and then I'll go around starting with Carla. We'll talk about what we think about these two albums, what a prediction is of which one we think is going to win, and then we'll get into the tracks. So, on this, we had 68 on this one. Let's see, me, Carla, and Emily. And from YouTube, Sonic Riccardi, Trevor Bullock, Future Squash 767, John Howard, Paul Bertolino, Kiss Army Rocks, Raw Barber, Jay Lee, James Dean, Eddie Thompson, Joel Pegg, Roger Bennett, Jesse Ray, Moshi Alvarez, Mick C. Hara, Milton the Monster, that's Hein from Voice of Doom, Mikkel D, Hard Rock Reverie, Super Kiss 1300, Raven FM, Armand 1972, Indie Cult 777, That Toy Bonnie Guy, Trey Robinson, John O, Cabane S, Les Wadley, Two Dads Review, Sublime 130, Gregory Pegg, Kanan Haywood, Warren Glover. From Twitter, Steve Hardy, David King, Tom Dust, Tony Rod, Darren Helliwell, Deuce, Bill Sharp, Andy, Vincent Marone, Michael Backford, Chivo Hellboy, Dave Kinney, Canadian cartoonist, DV, Demons of Rock, Vanessa, I Love It Louder, Lee Johnston from Facebook, John Sweeney, Joe Nail, Keith Nidu, Scott Luska, Matt Ucci, Scotty Sky. From Instagram, Justin Churchy Hansen, K.A. Peterson 22, AJ Zetro 1975, Eric Dole Roush, Jay Rucker, Kiss 113 SL, Brian Benny, Matthew Wasson, and Rick from It's All For You Demon. Rick is It's All For You Demon. And so that is our panel. So let's start with you, Carla. Talk about these two albums, and what do you think what do you predict is going to be the winner?
Well, I thank you to everyone who said they liked my shirt. I don't know how to comment back, so thank you. These are two really interesting albums going up against one another because the band was at two very different places when these albums came out. I love the debut album. It's one of my favorites. Rock and Roll Over. Here's my thing about it. I really like it. It's a sister album to Love Gun. To me, it's like volume 1, volume 2. But Love Gun is like the Marsha Brady, and Rock and Roll Over is like the Jan Brady. Nothing wrong with Jan Brady. It's just that album, for some reason, did not grab me the way that it has a lot of other people. But I will say there is a song on Rock and Roll Over, we'll get to it, that I probably listened to more than the entire debut album. I love it. I think this is going to be a really close one. I really do. In fact, I have it split half and half. I could see the panel going either way with this. So it's going to be really interesting to find out who wins this one.
All right, Em.
Okay, well, the debut album, what can I say about it? It is where I think everybody should start. No matter what you think, it's where you should start. I'm with Carla on the fact that I'm also split 50-50, and I could see it going either way because I feel like both of these albums have niche songs that have their people, like, oh, I'm going to defend this song to the death. And with the debut album, I definitely listened to that more when I was a kid, but there were certain songs from Rock and Roll Over that I just loved, and I've discovered more like in my teen years, and like now that I'm just really coming to love. Rock and Roll Over is also my cousin Ron's favorite record. Hey Ron, maybe one day you'll see this. Hi Becky. And I think my mom did not participate in this, but I think she would probably go with the first album, just her choice. Not saying that she doesn't like Rock and Roll Over. And my mom said to say hi to all of you and say that she misses all of you and that you're all awesome. And she wanted to just say hello.
So which one do you think is going to win?
I think the debut has this one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell Mama Sandy I said hi, and we need to get her back in the videos soon. That I know she doesn't like being on camera, but I love having her in videos with you. So tell her I said hi, and we all said hi, and we hope to see her. We all hope to see her in a video again sometime soon. Okay.
Definitely, definitely.
All right. Wow. These two albums. I mean, to me, both of these albums are iconic. You have the debut, and then you have the album that Kiss made in kind of a frantic mode to try to compensate for the backlash they were getting over Destroyer, and it's one of the well, let's talk about the debut album first. The debut album for me is it's iconic. The cover's iconic. The songs are iconic. Some of the, a lot of the songs that's in Kiss's staple to this day, or they're Kiss staples. I have a big problem with the production of it and the performance of it, and that's just me being overly critiquey, which I have a tendency to do. But and I'm not the only person that says, "Oh, songs I like on Kiss, I like on a live better." And they said that about all three albums. Basically, said that about the first three albums. That most of the songs that was on the first three albums were better on a live. I have a tendency to think that most of the songs that are on Kiss is just they're a live band, and they never really got captured in the studio in early vintage Kiss. They never got captured in the studio the way they did live. In live, I'm going to quotation mark that. But songs like on this album, like Making Love is great on Rock and Roll Over. It's twice as good. It's twice as better on Alive 2. A lot of the songs that Kiss just does them better live. And, but I have a tendency to gravitate towards if we're talking about these two albums and not talking about the songs, me personally, I have a tendency to gravitate towards the first album and the one that I like the best. But Rock and Roll Over is definitely one of the big contenders for me. But when it comes down to how I think the panel is going to go, I think the panel is going to go with the first Kiss album with the debut. Which one is my favorite album? We'll talk about which one do I pick the most songs off of? We'll talk about that at the end. And I don't know if you ladies, if y'all know which one y'all pick the most songs off of, but we can talk about that at the end too. So let's go ahead and just get right into the tracks because we got two of you here, and I want to hear everything that you have to say about it. You guys and gals that's in the chat, be sure to comment in your predictions as well. Comment in your picks if you were on the panel. If you wasn't on the panel, comment in what your pick between the songs would be regardless. All right, so we're going to start off with track number 1, and that put Strutter from the first album against I Want You off of the Rock and Roll Over, or Ra-Ro. So what's predictions for this track?
I think the panel's going to start with Rock and Roll Over for this one. I think they're going to pick I Want You.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to go with I Want You as well. I think that's probably what they're going to choose.
Okay. I predicted Strutter. I predicted Strutter on this because I know that Strutter's a fan favorite. And so I wanted to go outside the box, and I predicted Strutter on this one. All right, so I see predictions coming in. John Edwards says I Want You. Cecil says So Tough. There are some tough ones on here. This was an easy pick for me, but let's see what the panel picked. Coming in at number 2, or coming in at non-picked. You know what I mean when I say that. Coming in, didn't get picked as the favorite track with 30 points. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, we have 68 people. So that's really close to being split. So I Want You came in number 2 with 30 points. That leaves the winner at Strutter with 38 points. So Strutter, the debut, gets a win out of the gate. Me personally, this was an easy one for me. I've never really been a fan of the song Strutter. It's never really done anything for me. And a lot of people, they love the 78 version. I don't really like the 78 version either. So it's just something about it. It's just never really done anything for me. So I Want You was the easy pick for me on this one. So what about you, Carla?
Well, as I know I'm a broken record because I say this in every video, but I always judge the first two, the opening tracks differently than the rest because I kind of judge it opening track versus opening track. And even though I think I Want You is a fantastic opening track, it's great. I mean, Strutter, first song, debut album, I have to go with that. So for me, I chose Strutter.
Cam?
Okay, I also had to choose Strutter. Strutter is one of those songs that I will defend no matter what. It just unfortunately went up against I Want You, which I really do love. I Want You. I do. I think Paul has a great vocal delivery on that song. But Strutter, when I was little, I had a dance to Strutter that I did all the time. And I promised people if I got 100 subs on my channel that I would recreate it as best as I can. But Strutter, I just had to choose it. It's one of my favorites, and it'll be one of those songs that will stay with me forever. We'll be playing it at my funeral one day.
So have you hit 100 subs yet?
No.
Okay, guys, if you've not subbed to Emily, you need to go after this video, go to sub to Emily Graziano on YouTube. Because I want to see that dance recreated.
As best as I can.
All right. So I didn't put a running count here. So executive producer, you're going to have to help me keep it up. I usually always leave one thing out in my preparation. So I'll let you keep the tally for me. I see her taking notes already. So but yeah, so I can tell you right now, we got the debut got one out of the gate. All right, so that brings us to track number 2. Track number 2, Nothing to Lose off the debut album against Take Me off of Rock and Roll Over.
Well, now I've lost all my confidence because I thought for sure it was going to be I Want You. But I think it's going to be Take Me. I think the panel's going to go with Take Me.
Yeah, I think the panel's also going to go with Take Me.
All right. I predicted Nothing to Lose. So, I wonder if I'm going to be against y'all ever. I don't think, because there's some down, you get further down, they're going to be a little obvious.
Yeah.
So I predicted Nothing to Lose. With 31 points coming in at number 2 on this round. Panel chose, and that's still tight. You get in the 30s, it's almost half and half. A lot of these are not that way. But coming in number 2 with 31 points is Nothing to Lose with 31 points. So Take Me with 37 points takes the track. Me personally, this was a hard one for me because I love both of these songs. And I think Take Me, the song, got shafted by not appearing on Alive 2. It should have appeared on Alive 2. It was on the misprint of Alive 2. It was performed in Japan, where 80% of the audio from Alive 2 was actually used. You can go online and find the Lost Alive 2 performed in Japan. And Take Me was there. It was there, and it's actually really good. Better than the studio version. So I think it got shafted. It should have been on. It should have been on Alive 2. But me personally, when it comes to picking between Nothing to Lose and Take Me, Nothing to Lose for me, because it's got that Peter vocal in it, and it's a Gene song. So to me, I had to go back to the debut album on this one. But this was I've got this noted. I got what my picks were, how easy or hard or difficult they were. And this was a hard one for me. But for me, Nothing to Lose. Yeah,
same with me. I had to go with Nothing to Lose. it's just a Gene song, and it just gets better with age, in my opinion. I love it. And Take Me's great, but when you compare it to Nothing to Lose, it's just, there's no comparison, in my opinion. So I went with Nothing to Lose.
Okay, I went with Take Me, and it was literally just, I'm feeling it at the moment. Like, if I did this now, it would probably be different, because I love both of these songs so much. Nothing to Lose is so, it's a little bit bluesy, and it's really cool, and it's just, yeah, the combo of Gene and Peter's voices, and then, Paul on the backup, it's just so good. You don't really hear Paul on backup a lot, and that's one of the songs that you do. But Take Me, I just chose it because I was feeling it in the moment, and I just wanted to go with it in the moment. So that was my choice.
All right. Let's see. Let's see. John B. Good. John B. Good's in the chat. Good to see you there, John. And James Dean, she wears her satins like a lady. Let's see. So what is that? That's 1-1, right?
Yep.
All right. So track number 3. And for those of y'all who are wondering, this is live. I'm trying to pay attention to the chat as we go along, but we're also trying to keep it moving so where this doesn't become 2 hours. So we just kind of keep moving along. Let's see. Track number 3, Firehouse off of the debut versus Calling Dr. Love off of the Rock and Roll Over album.
I think it's going to go with Rock and Roll Over. I think it's going to be Calling Dr. Love.
Yeah, I'm going to have to predict Calling Dr. Love as well.
All right. Well, I predicted Firehouse. I've noticed I'm predicting a lot of off the first album. I think maybe that I thought that the panel was going to go with the first album. So if it come to be a toss up, I was just, going that route. So let's see. My prediction is Firehouse. So this is a little more definitive, but the second one still scored 28 points. 28 points. Number 2 goes to Firehouse. So the track is won by Calling Dr. Love with 40 points. So Calling Dr. Love and Rock and Roll Over wins another track. Me personally, if you've watched my channel long enough, this was a medium difficulty pick for me because I love Calling Dr. Love. So it's not a slight against that at all. But Firehouse is one of my favorite Paul Stanley songs. And I remember the first time I heard it on the Alive album. And then I didn't hear it until on the studio album till later. And I'm not the biggest fan of the version that's on this album, but it's still up against the version of Calling Dr. Love that's on Rock and Roll Over, which isn't as good as the Alive 2 version. So the 2 more sterile studio versions, I still have to go with Firehouse as far as I'm concerned for me.
For me, I had to go with Calling Dr. Love. This is the song on Rock and Roll Over that I love. I can't get enough of the song. I'll listen to it over and over and over. I know a lot of people probably say they're sick of it, but I will never be sick of the song. I love the song so much, but I love Firehouse too. And it always seems like whenever we do the debut album against any album, I always pick whatever song is up against Firehouse. It's just the way it is, but I love Firehouse. But nothing will beat Calling Dr. Love, in my opinion. Nothing will ever win. When a song's up against Calling Dr. Love, it's always going to win for me. So that's what I went with.
Okay, I also went with Calling Dr. Love. Calling Dr. Love has been a staple ever since I was little. Gene, again, drawing on his love of just anything that inspires him. I mean, he took it from these Three Stooges short, I think it's called Men in Black, where they're like calling Dr. Howard, Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine. He took that and he said, I'm going to use that for a song. It's just so cool. And of course, the Dr. Pepper cherry commercial was just so great. So yeah, I had to go with Calling Dr. Love. I had to. But I love Firehouse. That is just an iconic Paul song. He wrote it when he was 16. You can't not love Firehouse. I have a bunch of love for that too. This was so difficult.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put something in here. Apparently, a lot of people, I think the live chat is, I think the live stream is froze or looping. I know that we're still going on our end because me and you, me and Emily and Carla are still managing to talk. So I don't know what's happened on the back end or on the front end of this stream, but on the back end, we're still doing good. The only thing I can think of is I'm going to put in the chat to tell them to go out of it. Maybe, hold on a second. I'm basically just saying we're still working on the back end. We're still working fine. So this may be something that people have to drop out of and come back in, and they may have to watch it on the replay. But we'll keep going. So what does that bring us up to? That brings us
2 for Rock and Roll Over, 1 for the debut album.
All right, 2 for 1. All right, cool. All right, so that brings us to track number 4, which is Cold Gin off the first album, Against Ladies' Room from Rock and Roll Over.
I am hoping that the panel goes with Cold Gin.
Yeah, I don't understand how the panel could go for anything other than Cold Gin.
And I predicted ladies. No, I'm kidding. no, I predicted Cold Gin on this one, and you know, like you guys said, and even John B. Good said Cold Gin hands down. So let's see what we've got here. Track number 4, coming in at number 2 with 21 points. 21 points, Ladies' Room. 47 points, Cold Gin. That's not the biggest win of the thing. But so 21 points for Ladies' Room, 47 points for Cold Gin. Cold Gin is the winner of the track. Me personally, this was easy. I like Ladies' Room. I actually kind of equally like the version of Ladies' Room on Alive too, and the version of Ladies' Room on Rock and Roll Over. To me, they've got the same energy, but I like the way Gene sings better on Alive too, because he's got that Cookie Monster. He's doing the Cookie Monster thing that he does so well. But on the Rock and Roll Over, it's an entirely different delivery. It's that sultry Gene. It's that seductive Gene. And he kind of does the kind of same thing on Christine 16, you know, on Alive 2. He's like, well, on Alive 2, he's kind of belting it out Cookie Monster style. But on Love Gun, he's like, I don't usually say things like this to girls your age. You know, like he's just got his window down and got his arm out and trying to, you know, come on to the teenager. But yeah, but they match the same energy to me. But Cold Gin on Sublime said Cold Gin, especially on Alive. Yeah, it's great on Alive. It's one of those songs to me on the debut album. It's still good. So Cold Gin for me.
Yeah, same with me. And yeah, I agree with Sublime. I think Cold Gin on Alive, that's the way it should have sounded. It should have had that pace. And on the debut album, it just, to me, sounds like when you have a cassette tape that you've played so much that it starts to slow down and warp a little bit. That's what Cold Gin sounds like to me on the debut album. It's just a little too slow. But that being said, I love it. It's a fantastic Ace song. I wish he would have sang it on the debut album, but we all know he had some confidence issues. Had to wear my Ace shirt,
There you go.
In support of Cold Gin. Ladies' Room didn't have a chance for me, so it was Cold Gin all the way.
I agree. It had to be Cold Gin, and that's what I also chose. For Cold Gin, one of my favorite live versions of Cold Gin is at Madison Square Garden from 1996, their reunion show in New York City, where Ace sings the second verse, and I think people go crazy for that. And although it's not 70s Kiss when they were in their heyday, I think that's the closest we could get to Ace singing it. And I know he did Cold Gin on his Origins Volume 1 album, but with Kiss, with Gene and Paul and Peter, I think it was just cool that he sang the second verse in the live show back in 1996. So I think that's one of my favorite live versions of Cold Gin. And Ladies' Room wasn't really a staple growing up. I've only just recently discovered it, maybe within the past 10 years. It's not a bad song, but come on, it's Cold Gin.
Yeah. And I always thought it was cool, though, that Gene sings it. I always thought there was something kind of funny about, this guy who's never had a drop of alcohol in his life is singing Cold Gin. It just always was funny to me. So I don't hate that Gene sings it. I like it for a different reason. But yeah, if Ace would have sang it, it would have been, wow.
Yeah. And what I always think is funny is, okay, so and this is those discussions that has a tendency to make videos get long, but hopefully you enjoy the ride. We know Ace didn't sing a lot in the very beginning, so he didn't sing at all until Shock Me. So he gave Strange Ways to Peter. And I always kind of wonder, like, the backroom decisions about what if Gene would have sang Strange Ways instead? I mean, because he's very heavily on the background vocals, especially during the chorus. What if Paul would have sang Cold Gin? And I think the reason why on their very first album is the reason why Gene got this song, even though that he doesn't drink. And you always hear they always encouraged him to try to sing in the very beginning, and he just wouldn't do it. I think the reason why Gene got this over Paul is because Ace, and you see a lot of the old, especially the old vintage stuff and some of the stuff from the reunion tour, the first reunion tour, not necessarily so much the farewell tour, but the reunion tour. Ace and Gene, they were like buddies. I mean, you got to be close to somebody, let them lick you all over the neck. Like you see Gene do all the time with Ace. And so I think Gene and plus Ace came on a couple on some of Gene's vault things. And Gene let Ace, I don't know if he let Ace have his band, but Ace took Gene's band. So there's always kind of like some kind of connection between Ace and Gene. And so I think, but I couldn't even imagine Paul singing Cold Gin. I mean, it probably would have been good and we wouldn't have known any different. But yeah, I do agree that it's better with Gene singing it. And it is weird that he sings it having not drank a drop. Paul would have probably been more apt to sing it because Paul did party quite hard back in the day, drinking a little pot smoking, and that's been documented. So, that's one of those things when I'm setting up, and I often think about some of Ace's early songs is what if somebody else in Kiss would have sang it? What would it have sounded like? How would it have been? Would it have been as liked? Would it have been more liked, less liked? It's just things that cross my mind when I'm listening to stuff. All right, so Carla, what does that bring us to?
That is 2 for the debut and 2 for Rock and Roll Over.
All right. And Ronnie Parker says something, and Ronnie Parker says something. I'm going to pop this up. I hope it don't cover him up. Let's see. No, it doesn't. I think Gene wrote the bridge in Cold Gin. And this is one of the things I want to have these deeper discussions about, because it's just like stuff like this, because I've heard the same thing too, Ronnie, and I've also heard Gene and Paul both say that Ace brought cold gin into the studio, and the way they demoed it was the way that they recorded it. And then you hear that Paul and Gene helped them on the rearranging. You hear that Gene wrote the bridge or wrote part of it. So you never really know. And I think it's been so long ago, sometimes that those guys don't know. They can't probably remember. But yeah, and that's just a little hint of the kind of discussions, these deeper discussion videos I want to make, where I start talking about something and I put the link out there where you guys can come in and come on and talk with it with me, or you can talk in the comments. And just a little plug for that's going to be coming probably in about a month or so, maybe in May at this point in time, possibly early June. So just on that. Okay. All right. So that brings us to, you said we're tied up, or?
Yep.
Tied up. Okay. All right. So that brings us to track number 5. That is Let Me Know, off of the debut, against Baby Driver off of Rock and Roll Over.
This was one that I thought was really hard for the panel. I could see them going either way. I put down Let Me Know. So I guess that's what I think the panel's going to go with.
Oh, this one's so difficult because these are two niche songs that I think are evenly loved. I think the panel's going to go with Peter on this one, especially because on this record he has 2 songs, and that's kind of rare for Peter. So I think the panel may go with Baby Driver.
Okay. I'm my predictions, I'm sticking with the first album, so I'm saying Let Me Know. The Sunday Driver song, such great. Somebody mentioned it in the comments already. John B. Good, Let Me Know is the perfect vocal trade-off. Here we go. I'm pull it up for everybody. Let Me Know is the perfect Gene Paul vocal trade-off song of the 70s. I love Baby Driver, but not even close to Let Me Know. And then Sublime, I agree. Let Me Know, extremely underrated song. So, and Emily Graziano, true. at Emily Graziano, true. Okay, quit, stop. All right. Okay, so my prediction is Let Me Know. So coming in at 31 points, very close on this one. 31 points. Number 2, Baby Driver. Number 1 with 37 points, Let Me Know. Sunday Driver, which I love calling it Sunday Driver, because I feel very 90s, early 90s rock, because he only says Sunday Driver one time. And you know how the grunge and early 90s bands, they would say the title of a song, maybe it would be 1 or 2 words in the whole song. So that's why I think it would have been cool if it had been called Sunday Driver, because that's very Beatlesque. It's a very Beatlesque song, but then when Paul comes in and kicks in, it's like Gene's bringing that cool Beatles kind of thing, and then Paul comes in and kicks in and did you ever want loving? And it's just great. Paul's voice back then just sounded so good and so strong. So this was a hard pick for me because I love Baby Driver. It's one of my favorite Peter songs. And M's right, he does have 2 on this one. This is definitely my favorite of the 2. But this was hard for me, but I had to go with Sunday Driver. I had to go with Let Me Know for me personally.
Neither one of these songs stands out for me. Neither one is my. I shouldn't say that. Neither. I
was going to say, get out.
That was the wrong choice of words. No, neither of these songs are my favorites off of these albums. That's what I was trying to say. They stand out, but so really, to me, it was just kind of what I was feeling at the moment. And at the moment, I went with Let Me Know. But today, I could have gone with Baby Driver. I mean, these are just both one of those songs that, yeah, today I'm feeling this and today I'm feeling that. So I went with Let Me Know. But again, it could have gone either way for me.
Carla, I completely agree. I also went with Let Me Know, basically based on what I was feeling when I chose the matchup, but I was really upset that this was a matchup because I wanted to, if I could choose both, I would choose both. But Peter, he's so cool on Baby Driver. It's unlike anything he's done with Kiss. It's unlike anything he's done on his solo records anywhere. I just think that this is his kind of don't care rock star attitude moment, and it's really awesome. But yeah, I went with Let Me Know. And like John B. Good mentioned, hi John B. Good, great vocal trade-off and harmony for Paul and Gene. So again, went with what I was feeling for Let Me Know.
All right. So that put Kiss back up by one, didn't it?
Yep, 3 for the debut and 2 for Rock and Roll Over.
All right. So we're flipping the vinyl, and we're going to be putting Kissin' Time off of the debut album up against Love 'Em and Leave 'Em off of Rock and Roll Over.
Please tell me that the panel did Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, please.
Yeah, I mean, if Kiss themselves says Kissin' Time is a joke, you have to go with Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. I hope they did.
My prediction on this one also was Love 'Em and Leave 'Em between the two of these. And so this is the most definitive win of the whole thing. With 15 points, number 2 goes to Kissin' Time, and Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, 53 points. Love 'Em and Leave 'Em takes the number 6 track. This one was easy for me, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. I've never been the biggest fan of Kissin' Time. It just doesn't sound like Kiss. It doesn't sound like a song that they would do. Although I do like the only saving grace that I like about this song is that it has Paul and Gene and a Peter. It doesn't have a Paul and a Gene, or is it just Paul and Peter? Does Gene ever sing in this song? Kissin' Time? I don't think he does.
I never listened to it, so I couldn't. I don't remember.
No, it's only Paul and Gene. It's only Paul and Peter. It's only Paul and Peter. Paul sings the first two verses, and then Peter sings after the solo. It's off to Seattle and then to Baltimore. So it has a great Peter vocal in it. But for me, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. I just like the way Love 'Em and Leave 'Em just drives that whole just that driving drum beat that it has. And this is Gene's rock star. This to me, this is Gene's equivalent of Room Service. Room Service that Paul wrote on Dress to Kill about the rock and roll lifestyle. And here's Gene writing his version of that. It's essentially Room Service Part 2. My limousine's awaiting. I see you coming my way. Hey. It's a great. He even says, "You asked me which hotel I'm staying." So yeah, it's a Gene's, one of his early screw me songs. A sign of things to come from Mr. Simmons. But Love 'Em and Leave 'Em for me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it really didn't even matter what was up against Kissin' Time because I would have picked it. I cannot stand Kissin' Time. There is nothing redeemable about that song, in my opinion. I just don't like it. So, I mean, it could have been anything. It was a good thing that it was Love 'Em and Leave 'Em because I do genuinely love that song. So yeah, that's what I went with. Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. And I'm glad the panel did too. Very glad.
Okay, I also went with Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. There was no contest. I've only listened to Kissin' Time maybe once or twice because I was playing it on the vinyl. But Kiss themselves themselves. They thought it was a joke. They were forced to record it. They didn't want to record it, and they still to this day hate it. So, I mean, I know we fans can sometimes disagree with the band, but I think this is a universal yes, we agree with you moment. And then Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, it's Gene being Gene. I don't think Paul or Ace or even Peter could have sang that song. So I just think that Gene gave a really good vocal performance on it. And yeah, it's really nice that it is up against Kiss in Time because I mean it prompts me to choose it, whereas if it were up against something else, maybe I wouldn't. So I'm glad song is getting some appreciation that maybe wouldn't have.
Yeah. I see Cecil said, not even Ace's solo, Carla. Okay, I guess there's one redeeming part of Kiss in Time for me. You're right. I got to give that to Ace, but that's it. That's all I'll give it.
My favorite part of Kiss in Time is Ace's solo is good, but Peter's vocal coming out of the solo is good. It's got a lot of soul to it, but I like that. So okay, all right. So that ties everything back up.
That is 3 for the debut and 3 for Rock and Roll Over. Yep.
All right. I have a feeling it's going to come down to these last few tracks because this is where it's about to get, well, 3 out of these 4 tracks is about to get a little heart-wrenching. At least to me they were. So that brings us up to track number 7, and it is Deuce off the first album that they used to open their shows with. I don't understand why they didn't open the first album with the song that they opened their shows with for years. But Deuce off the debut album against the cult Kiss Tards classic Mr. And I use that Kiss Tards affectionately. Mr. Speed, the Mr. Speed.
I think the debut album's going to win this one. I think it's going to be Deuce.
Well, this one's so hard because Mr. Speed is so loved, but Deuce is like, you know, it's your standard starter Kiss song. Like if Strutter is the one you start with, Deuce is the one you introduce to people on this record. Oh, it's so tough. I think people are going to go with Deuce.
Okay. I continued with the first album, and wait a minute. I think I predicted almost every song off the first album. Oh my gosh, I think I did. We'll find out. So I predicted Deuce as this one as well. I just now looked down through, and I think I predicted the whole first album. So Deuce for me is what my prediction. This is not as close as I thought it was going to be. And I was kind of disappointed. I was kind of sad. And I wish it would have at least been close. But number 2, 24 points. Only 24 points goes to Mr. Speed. That's Heresy. Deuce, the winner, with 44 points. Me, personally, this was a hard, I've got in my notes, this was a hard pick. And for the longest time, I had one picked, and then I just happened to be listening on a certain day, like you guys both have talked about, and it hit me right. And on that day that I finalized my list, I flopped my pick. And so my pick is Mr. Speed. Mr. Speed is my pick. Barely over Deuce. They're tied. I mean, but I had to pick one. So on this particular day I made my list, I chose Mr. Speed. You've heard me say why before in any of my videos. Mr. Speed to me is one of Paul Stanley's top 5 most perfect songs he ever wrote. And it's a shame it was never done live. I could see it not being done live because it's not, to me, it doesn't come across as a live song. Especially, I couldn't see Kiss coming out and singing this song on the same stage that they blow up during the Alive 2 era. Those songs had to be bombastic and, you know, in your face. And Mr. Speed just was a little more laid back, driving on a spring day, you know, driving, driving around. It's not really a Live 2 caliber. But I hate that they never really. This is a forgotten, not by the Kiss tards, but by the general populace. It's a forgotten gem, as far as I'm concerned. And this panel kind of reflects that. So, but yeah, Mr. Speed for me.
I went with Deuce. Deuce is just. I know people in the comments are saying burnout. I totally get that. I'm not burned out quite yet though. So I love Deuce. Mr. Speed for me is always, whenever I listen to it, I think it's going to be a different song. And what I mean by that is the title, Mr. Speed. I think, oh, this is going to be an Ace song. It's going to be like speed metal. It's going to be great. And then I hear it and I'm like, nope, not at all what I thought it was going to be. I don't know. There's just something about the title and then the song that just don't connect for me. And I think just for that, I went with Deuce. Like I said, I love it. I'm not burned out yet on it. So I went with Deuce.
I also had to go with Deuce. I don't think I could ever be burned out on it. Well, I don't know, but I'm younger than all of you people. So, but Mr. Speed, I feel.
What'd you say? I can't hear. I'm deaf. I'm deaf. I'm a deaf old man.
No, Brent, rock and roll keeps you young. I think that's the secret. And I was just talking with my uncle about that. Like, rock and roll keeps you young. But Mr. Speed, I wish they would have played Mr. Speed on MTV Unplugged. I think it would have been really fun to hear. They could have done it live. I think it would have worked really well. And I love Mr. Speed. I think Paul gives a great vocal performance. I think that it's just really, it's a fun song. But Deuce, I had to go with Deuce. That is a Kiss standard. It's a staple. I think it's one of the songs that people introduce non-Kiss fans to, like, this is one of their most popular hits. You need to listen to this to be a real Kiss fan, I think. So that's why I went with Deuce. Maybe on a different day I would have went with Mr. Speed. And Les Wadley, when he said he flipped a coin and chose Mr. Speed. That was his method. Hi, Les Wadley. Promised him a shout out. So.
Yeah, the opening line to Deuce, "Get up and get your grandma out of here." I mean, that to me is like, why didn't Kiss start their album with that? It's like, okay, this is not for the faint at heart. This is not for the grandmas, at least the grandmas of that day. But there's quite a bit of grandmas and great grandmas and probably great great grandmas that listen to Kiss these days. All right, so I think that put the album ahead the debut album ahead by one.
Yep.
All right, so that takes us to the next track number 8, Love Theme from Kiss versus See You in Your Dreams off of Rock and Roll Over.
This is where I think Rock and Roll Over is going to tie it back up. I think the panel's going to go with See You in Your Dreams.
I do think it may be closer than we think. There's a certain niche of fans that love Theme from Kiss, but yeah, I think they're going to go ultimately with See You in Your Dreams.
I think in my thought process, I was thinking the same thing, and I actually chose Love Theme from Kiss because I also know that See You in Your Dreams doesn't have the biggest fan base either. I've heard See You in Your Dreams get trashed in my past broadcasts, not only the solo album version, but this version too. Are people saying, I like the solo album version better, or I like the Rock and Roll Over version better. Some people saying I don't like neither version. I don't like the song at all. And so I went with predicting Love Theme from Kiss winning this because of that niche group that you talk about. This was the second biggest definitive on the list with 17 points. Love Theme from Kiss came in second. 51 points. See in Your Dreams came in first. So See in Your Dreams to me, and Love Theme from Kiss, this version, Love Theme from Kiss, and this version. Yes, Cecil, this version of Love Theme from Kiss, this version of See You in Your Dreams. I've got my notes, meh, not a big fan of either. I'm not a fan of this version on his album. On this album, I like the version on his solo album the better. I think it has more energy, and it's recorded more in the way that he intended it to be recorded. And Love Theme from Kiss is nothing with it. It's chopped up Acrobat. It's cut down Acrobat without Much Too Young on it. And it's just the boring part of Acrobat to me. So I've never been a big fan of Love Theme from Kiss. If they would have not put Kissin' Time on, this was originally a 9-track album. I don't understand for the life of me. I have no clue, and this is a Brant's Rants. So, but I have no clue why in the early 70s, when these instrumental albums were so big, and bands were making 10-minute instrumental songs, and you catch some of these early like Popcorn Club and Coventry and some of these early recordings of Kiss, they jammed. They were a jamming band. They jammed a lot. They had a song called Life in the Woods that they never recorded professionally that it's a big jam on. And I heard it off of the box set and did a review about it and everything. For the life of me, I don't understand why they didn't just have 9 songs and just have the entire Acrobat version with Much Too Young on it. I think it should have been done that way, and then you wouldn't have had space for Kissin' Time, and you couldn't have messed up what could have been an otherwise perfect album had you made Love Theme from Kiss actually Acrobat, and had you not had Kissin' Time on there, it would have been a perfect album, in my opinion. Well, other than the production and the songs being played too slow, and like Carla said, sounding like the tape's wearing out. But yeah, and I saw somebody say it earlier, and I fully agree. The first Kiss album does not sound as good as the Eddie Kramer demos. Kerner Wise messed up the first 2 Kiss albums, in my opinion, and that's going to be another topic for deeper discussions. So, see, we're going to have fun on those things. All right. So, what about you? So, yeah, for me, See You in Your Dreams. What about you, Carla?
Well, first of all, I love the title Brant's Rants. I love that. Copyright that, trademark that. That's great. Make that a whole series in and of itself. I think for the panel, this was definitely a scenario of the lesser of two evils when it came to these two, because I really don't think anybody likes either one. But I will say this is where Brant and I split, because I love Theme from Kiss. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I know it's not Acrobat. I wish it would have been Acrobat. But I love Theme from Kiss. I love that they put this instrumental on their debut album. I think, especially for a debut album, when you're a band that isn't instrumental heavy, I think having a 10-minute instrumental on the debut might have been a little too much, but I love that they put this on there. I love it. I love everything about it. I'm always going to pick this against pretty much any other song that it's up against. So sorry, everybody, that I disappointed you, but I love Theme from Kiss. So that's what I went with.
Oh, you don't have to apologize, Carla, because everybody's opinions are...
Sorry, I'm not sorry. How about that?
Yes, I love that. I love that. Okay, I'm going to go with Brant on the sense that I'm not crazy about either of these songs either. I don't dislike Love Theme from Kiss, but I don't love it. It's kind of like, that's nice. It's kind of like a, well, do I feel like listening to this song or not type song. But the same for See You in Your Dreams. I did choose See You in Your Dreams this time. Maybe I would have chose Love Theme from Kiss if I was just feeling different. But the one thing that I always think about for See You in Your Dreams, just the phrase, See You in Your Dreams, is the Peter Criss show when Paul, and during the farewell tour, where Peter smashes up his drum kit and Paul, he's out to the audience saying, "We'll see you in your dreams tonight." And he's like, "Never forget us, people." And Peter's just smashing his drum kit, and Paul thinks they're all screaming for him when then he turns around and sees Peter smashing up his kit being epic. So that's what I always think about when I just the phrase "see you in your dreams." It takes me back to that clip, that show.
Paul outstaged again. Let's see what I was laughing at something. I'm digging some of these comments. I was laughing at this one. Love theme played at Carla's wedding.
Only in my head. Only in my head. I wish, but just in my head it was.
Oh, yeah, it's a great interlude. Yeah.
We'll play it at my vow renewal. How about that? I'll walk down the aisle to it. There
you go. Down, 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 down. And you got to take a step with the cowbells, like take you 3 minutes to get down the aisle.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All right, so does that tie us back up? Dang it. All right, so it's going to come down. It's going to come down tight. All right, so track number 9. Oh, man, these next two. Track number 9, 100,000 Years off of the debut album versus Hard Luck Woman off of Rock and Roll Over.
Yeah, this is another one where I honestly have no idea how the panel's going to go because I could see it going both ways. So I took another shot in the dark with this, and I just said 100,000 years.
Okay.
I don't know. This is so tough. I think the panel may go with Hard Luck Woman. I know that, but it's such a love or hate song, but I think it might have enough to go with that.
I predicted 100,000 Years. I didn't think. I know Hard Luck Woman is one of the more liked Peter songs, but I didn't think that a song that was I didn't think a love song had a chance against a rock song, more of a darker rock song off the first album that. Like the songs like 100,000 Years and Black Diamond kind of define the sound of the first album for me, kind of dark and broody kind of sounding. So I didn't think that Hard Luck Woman had a chance against it. So I predicted 100,000 Years. What the panel picked with 21 points, pretty definitive, 21 points, the panel picked for number 2, Hard Luck Woman. So 100,000 years, 100,000 Years wins the track with 47 points. Me personally, this was an easy one for me because I've never been a big fan of Hard Luck Woman, even all the way back in when I first heard it, all the way back in the day on the Kiss Alive 2 album. Alive 2 was the very first time I heard it because if you know my story, I got Destroyer when I was 8 years old in August, and then 2 months later, in October, Alive 2 came out. And so all the songs that's on Love Gun and Rock and Roll Over, the first time I heard them was live. And I didn't care for it. They didn't even do Hard Luck Woman live. It was one of those that was filmed kind of like Tomorrow and Tonight. It was recorded during sound check, and they taped in and they piped in the crowd and everything. So even though it was a hit, it wasn't as big a hit as Beth. Paul wanted it to be Beth Part 2, and it wasn't. And so for me, man, 100,000 Years. It's got an amazing ace solo. The solo alone from 100,000 Years, I think, is great. And the little drum part that Peter has on the studio. I actually prefer the studio version of this. And shocker, y'all going to be shocked because I'm a drummer. I think that the live version of 100,000 Years is about 5 minutes, 10 minutes too long. The whole rap that Paul does and the whole drum solo that Peter has, they could have cut all that as far as I'm concerned. And they could have cut this down and had it more like it was on the studio. I know they wanted to keep it more like it was live, but they cut Ace's solo down, So why did they? And I've even seen this, heard some performances from this time. They even cut Peter's solo down a little bit. They cut it down a little bit. But they could have cut out some of Paul's raps, and I'd have been a happy camper. But the version on this album, 100,000 Years, that's on the studio version, to me is perfect. And so it's my pick.
Yeah, for me, this was just one of those where it was just kind of what I was feeling that day. I went with Hard Luck Woman. I had to give Peter something with this panel. And to me, Hard Luck Woman is just one of those songs that when you listen to it, you're like, this isn't Kiss. And then, oh, yeah, it is Kiss. And it kind of shows you they had range and they could go in different directions. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's got the Rod Stewart sound to it. But that aside, I still think it's a really good song. I don't know how it wasn't more popular than it was. You know, I don't know. You never hear it on the radio either, which I kind of am surprised at. But 100,000 Years to me always kind of sounded like a preview of Paul's voice and the way he was going to use it in the future, especially on Love Gun. When I hear 100,000 Years, I hear Love Gun. And I just think that's great for a debut album. Like I said, it was just kind of how I was feeling when I did this panel. Or this matchup. So I went with Hard Luck Woman, but it easily could have been 100,000 Years. I love both. Yeah.
That attack when he comes in with that sorry I couldn't take it, so sorry if something was taking so long or whatever. The way he comes in on that attack and the way he comes in with I really love you, baby, is identical.
That's where I hear it.
It's that same focused energy in his voice.
Yeah.
And he was doing it, you know, at a much younger age. Paul shows a lot of vocal control and a lot of vocal power on the very first album. And even on some of the demos of the very first album, and even back into some of the Wicked Lester stuff, he had such an awesome voice in the beginning. But go ahead, Emily.
Okay, I also went with Hard Luck Woman just because I didn't choose Baby Driver. And if it would have been switched, if I would have chosen Baby Driver, I would have chosen 100,000 Years. But Hard Luck Woman has always been a song for me that I love. But I love 100,000 Years too. So it was very much, like Carla said, that it was just what I was feeling. But when Paul says, when he goes with the mic, do you feel all right? And then Ace with the guitar, and he's like, do you feel all right? That is just brilliant. And seeing it in the live show when I went to see them in 2019, that was really fun. His voice wasn't as strong, but it was still really fun just to see it, considering I may never go see them again the way the world is now. So that was really fun. But Hard Luck Woman, there's just something about it that I resonate with, and I will always love it. And I was sad that this was a matchup because I would have loved to choose 100,000 Years as well.
Me too.
The very first time we hear Paul Stanley do that falsetto is when he does that. Do you feel all right? That's one of the very first time you hear Paul Stanley do falsetto. Think about it. That was the sign of things to come, aka I was made for loving you. No, he actually did. He did some falsetto on his solo album too. He was really starting to experiment by the time he got around to that point. All right, so where does that leave us? Does that tie us up?
No, it is 5 for the debut and 4 for Rock and Roll Over.
Okay. Whoa, now look at this one right here, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that this was hands down the hardest pick for me on the whole album. For me, this was the hardest pick. Number 10, Black Diamond off the debut, going up against Making Love off of Rock and Roll Over. I see that, CK. Yeah, he used falsetto on the solo album as well. Yeah.
I don't know, but I think the panel's going to go with Black Diamond on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Carla. I think the panel will choose Black Diamond.
I predicted that they were going to choose Black Diamond as well. And that right there just confirms that all of my predictions was off the first album. With 23 points, and I could not believe that this wasn't closer. I just cannot believe it. 23 points. Number 2 goes to Making Love. That makes the winner Black Diamond with 45 points, almost doubling what Making Love had. My pick, and this was the hands down hardest pick between the two, and because I had to kind of keep myself in that box of going by the album version versus the version on the Live 2. So sticking with this just version. But even then, I had to choose Making Love, because even though Making Love is a lot more sterile on Alive, on Rock and Roll Over, it comes alive on Alive too. Black Diamond is a great song, and I love Black Diamond. My favorite part of Black Diamond is the very end, where they stop and Peter does the doo, 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 and it goes into that solo, that bluesy solo that Ace does. But what kills it for me is the way that Black Diamond ends, the way the tape slows down. And I know some people love that. To me, it gets on my nerves the very first time they hit the first note. And as soon as the tape starts to slow down, I skip on to something else. So I actually had to, this was the ones that I know this is going to sound dorky as hell, and please tell me that I'm not one of the only people that does this, but I actually had to get out 2 Post-it notes and kind of write down what I liked, the pros and cons about what I liked about each song. I couldn't flip a coin. That's too much letting fate decide too much. So I had to actually sit down and look at pros and cons of these versions of the song, and Making Love came out by that much. So Making Love, to me, this version of Making Love.
I want to give a shout out to AJ Zetro, because he made me laugh really hard at that comment about this was like the Sophie's Choice. Like, just comparing a Kiss song to Sophie's Choice is just, that broke me. That was great. I went with Making Love on this. That's so great. I went with Making Love on this one. I don't know why, but Black Diamond just has never been the song for me that it is for so many other people. And this is where Brant and I really go different ways on this song, because his least favorite part is that ending where it slows down. That is my favorite part. I love that it does that at the end. I think that's so cool. I don't know. There's just something really interesting about that. I love it. I went with Making Love, though. I just think it's a great song to close an album with. It keeps that energy up, and that was just what I went with. So I went with Making Love.
Okay, I personally went with Black Diamond only because it has been with me longer than Making Love. I don't think my dad would have appreciated it had I listened to that song when I was younger. Like, my mom would play me Kiss songs, and that was kind of not something he was okay with, but she knew where to draw the line. And this was one of the songs I did not hear until I was like older, like, 10, 11. Yeah, that's not appropriate for like 3-year-olds, but by the time
Emily,
they're like 10 or 11.
It has a positive message in the very first line. He says, I can't stand when a girl says wait. I just hate when a girl says wait,
Okay, but
we need to do like another.
Did he let you listen to Take Me? Because you remember the
I did listen to it.
Okay, you remember the first line of that second verse, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the same. The first line of the second verse of Take Me is worse than Making Love.
I know.
We need to do a panel video where it's like we rank the songs that Kiss could never do today. Like, just
exactly. That's a good one.
Christine 16 would be number 1. Spoiler, but
Yeah.
Anyway.
Christine's 61.
Or just Christine 60, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Black Diamond, and my mom commented on the ending today of Black Diamond. It sounds like they're running out of energy, and I'm like, it's a little bit creepy. And she's like, yeah, it is, and especially if you play it in the dark. I don't have a hate for it. I think it's just depending on how I'm feeling, if I will listen to the end of Black Diamond or not. But especially in their live shows, when they time it to the pyro, that I think is really cool. Especially when they had Peter's drum kit, like he'd hit it and it'd go up, and the pyro and the lights and the lasers would be timed to that. I think that is a cool part. But yeah, Black Diamond, I had to go with it. I love Black Diamond. And Making Love, I don't think I heard that until Kiss Rock the Nation, the home video. So, no, I think I was 8 when I heard it. So, correction to myself, I was only 8 when I heard it first. So.
Yeah, I think it was because it was in the title, like I've said in my videos before, Unmasked, which is a very sexually charged album for me. I've discussed it in great lengths. But my mom used to wouldn't let my aunt, when we went to my cousin's house, would not let us listen to Naked City because it had Naked City. It had naked in the title. She didn't have a problem with She's So European, talking about making love on the brass bed because her parents are still away. I mean, she didn't have a problem with that. So it's a lot about what's in a title of a song sometimes, and it really is. But somebody said a lot of Kiss songs couldn't get recorded today. We're gonna come up with a list of what we think. But I think it's interesting. You remarked, Emily, and y'all both made observations about the tape slowing down, and whenever the tape slows down, it is creepy. And especially towards the very end, when the tape is going so slow, you can almost hear it warbling across the head of the tape player. And at the very end of it, I guess somebody says something because it's going so slow. It sounds very demonic. You have to listen to it, and you have to have your headphones turned up really loud. Luckily, it's the last song on the album, and nothing's going to come blasting in on you. But you get to the very end of it, and it's just like, and it's like, it sounds really, really creepy.
Oh, that's why I love it.
Another thing that I think is very funny is that on the debut album, they slow the hits that they do, they slow them down. When they play this song live, they speed up. They do so many at that same speed, and then they start speeding up and speeding up and speeding up as Peter's drum rises up. Yes, and I'm getting some flack here. I'm getting some love. I'm getting some love about my accent here. Yes, I do say naked. It's not naked. It's naked. That's naked. How we say it. That's how we say it here in the South. It's N-A. It's naked. It's naked. Naked.
All right. Midwest accent. Naked.
Yeah.
Naked. All right, so that ends up being what, 6-4?
Yep. Debut album, 6-4.
So debut album, 6-4. All right. So now go ahead and put it in the comments. Favorite album cover. What is your favorite album cover? We want to hear from you in the comments. And we're going to start with Carla. Favorite album cover.
Okay, so I have a really short story about Rock and Roll Over's album cover. It was one of the first Kiss album covers I had ever seen. The very first one was Asylum when I was a kid. Rock and Roll Over was one of the first, and I just thought it was a really cool album cover. I didn't think it was from the 70s. I just thought it was too cool to be from the 70s, and I didn't realize that was an original album cover until much later. So that album cover kind of has a special place in my heart because, like I said, it's one of my first Kiss memories. But that being said, I got to go with the debut. I love the debut album cover so much. Gene's face, that's what my eyes are drawn to. is Gene on that album cover, as he probably wanted everyone else's to be. Yeah, it's just great. It's iconic, and it sets the tone for the whole band. That's, that was the first image a lot of people had of Kiss, and what a great first image. So I have to go with the debut album.
All right. So Carla's pick is the debut album. So what about you, Em?
Oh my god, this is so hard. These albums are so iconic. Their covers with Rock and Roll Over, that's what they chose for their MTV Unplugged floor because they couldn't go with anything else. But with the debut album, that is the image that people see and that people love. Yes, James Dean, yes. But so, oh my god, I'm just gonna do on what I'm feeling right now, and my gut's saying go with Rock and Roll Over because it has such a history and it really has a section for each of their personas, and any way you put it, it's going to be it can't be upside down. It just can't. Any way you look at it, it's going to be great. It has an unplugged connection. I'm going with that right now.
All right, so you are going with Rock and Roll Over, right?
Yeah.
All right. Me personally, these somebody said in the comments that these are both very iconic, and they are. It's very hard to pick. It is. To me, if I show people, if I was just walk up to somebody that didn't know Kiss and I was to show them this picture and I was to cover that up, to me, if you look at the makeup, have you seen some of these Kiss tribute bands? Like that's out like in big time lately since Kiss reunited and put the makeup back on and, and now they got the scab players. And so Kiss almost looks like a cover band at this point in time. That's what they look like. And even in some of the makeup they wear today, they almost look like a cover band. Well,
Tommy.
Tommy
and Eric.
They are 50% a cover band. Anyway, you show people this and they're like, oh, that's Kiss. And this is a drawing. So between these two, I love both of these albums. I love both the album covers. But to me, it's this one. It's this one. And like you said, for so many reasons, it's a drawing and it captures the essence of Kiss. There really is no wrong way to hold it. I mean, even though we know this is the right way because Gene and Paul's always going to be on top.
Yep.
But there really is no wrong way. And I've seen these made into clocks. I've seen them made into slip mats for record players. It's got the icon. It's got the logo all the way around it. It's the same pretty much on the front and the back, except they kind of take the Kiss logo away and put in the credits. It came with a sticker, and I don't think this is my version that has a sticker because this is my Paul Stanley teardrop version. I don't know how well you can see that there. Little teardrop. This is my teardrop version, RCA Record Club teardrop. So for me, it's this one. So, all right. Well, that was fun. All right. So this is the next. I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag. Let the cat out of the bag. And CK asked a question, and I'm going to go ahead and address it. You have to remember at this point in time, Kiss had not really fully established their makeup. I mean, even Paul's makeup is not exactly right. Gene's, their makeup would go through several changes. Even Ace's, some of his stuff is very rounded where it would become pointed. His lips would become more pointed on the top. But Peter hired somebody to do his makeup. He's the only one that hired somebody to do his makeup for this shoot. And they did a terrible job. And I don't think it was ever seen or ever used again. But if you look at some of the footage and some of the photos of Peter before this album was made, his makeup looked kind of similar to that. It's just it didn't have all the extra embellishments of the extra whiskers and the red and the little eyebrows up here and stuff like that. It didn't have all that. So, but Peter had somebody do his makeup where the other guys didn't. All right, so I went ahead and I kind of spoiled this whenever we were talking about it originally. So since Kiss, the debut album, did such a bang up job beating Rock and Roll Over by 2 points, let's see how it fares against Love Gun. Let's see how Kiss fares against Love Gun. So the next track versus track is going to be the debut album against Love Gun. So I'll be putting that up for you guys to vote on. And Em got her, I was talking to her earlier today. She got in her vote for Peter Criss, One for All. And most people are passing on it. But if you are a Peter Criss, One for All fan, and the panel is actually up to a size larger than I thought it was going to be. So if you want to get in on that, you still can. I've not started collecting those yet. That will probably be next Wednesday. That'll be next week. And I want to ask for forgiveness for the confusion on the 80s, thing that I do on The Panel Has Spoken. I talked about how we were going to do Dawkins' album Under Lock and Key, but which looks like this. But whenever I put it out there on social media, I said we're going to do Tooth and Nail. And so everybody started putting in their votes for Tooth and Nail. And some people said, hey, are we doing Under Lock and Key or are we doing Tooth and Nail? I said, well, most people have already started putting in Tooth and Nail lists. So we're going to go with Tooth and Nail. So if you want to get in on Dawkins, Tooth and Nail, that'll probably be sometime. I might get it next week. Might get it sometime in next week. We'll just have to see what my schedule looks like. My schedule at work's kind of starting to slow down a little bit, but my schedule at home is starting to pick up a little bit. So it's going to remain a balancing act. But that is all I've got for. That's what I've got for this one. So any closing thoughts, panel members? Any closing thoughts, Carla or Emily?
No.
None?
Really?
No, not really. All right. All right, guys.
I thought this was kind of going to go how it went. I didn't think it was going to be a runaway for either album. Like I said, I thought it was going to be a tie. So it was pretty much what I thought. I think the debut versus Love Gun's that's gonna be really interesting.
That's gonna be very, very hard.
Yeah.
This was hard. And I think if you would have done this again, maybe like if you did this again, like in 2 years, I think the answer could be different just based on what people are feeling at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to address this too. Had a couple people asking about it. This, CK asked about it, and Cecil Music asked about it. The teardrop version is a misprint. It's a misprint, but just like the very similar to the most recent Walmart Love Gun release, the splatter, the orange and black splatter that had the one chick that was here off, the one Love Gun chick that was here off to the side right here. They had horns, but the horns wasn't always in the same place. Sometimes I saw people's copies, the horns were above her head. Sometimes they were actually down in her hair. I saw one where the mark was actually on her face, and it wasn't really a horn. It was almost like what I would call a bean-shaped glob of blue ink. And there's a lot of blue in this, so it could have very well been an ink, a pressing. It also was not on a lot of them. It could have been a mispress. It was not on a lot of them, a misprint. The thing about the RCA thing, and I'm trying to see if I can get it here close enough to be able to see it. You can see it a little bit there. It gets a little blurry. It's right there under his eye without the star. That blue is used somewhere else on here. It's used in the kiss word. It is used in the sky behind Ace. And I think it's kind of even used in Ace's eyes. But the thing about this is there are two definitive little splotches. One is larger than the other, and one is just a little, and they're both very similar shaped in size. You can go online and see this. They're very similar shaped in size, and one is larger than the other. They're always, every picture I've ever seen of this, they're always in the same place. They're always the same shape. There's always one bigger than the other. So if that is a misprint, it is pretty permanent. It is pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent. It is consistently misprinted, where I have seen more recent Love Gun misprints that are very variable. The spot moves around in different places. So I don't know. But everybody says it's a misprint, that it's something that was on the press or whatever. Well, they pressed every damn RCA because that's the only one you find it on. And if you find an RCA record club, it has the teardrop. So it happened with every single run. So, and it's not worth a whole lot of money, but it is collectible. I actually got mine on Etsy, and I got it as a part of a kit. I got it as a part of 2 other albums, and I got it for $31. So if you split that, I paid about $16 for this. But I've seen them go for more than that. So that's all I've got. James Dean, thank you so much for that. Anytime you guys feel like donating to the show, that helps, because then I turn around and I'm able to purchase things like my lights and other stuff, and help pay for StreamYard to be able to do shows like this. StreamYard costs about $25 a month to do. And so if you ever want to, if you want to donate, you can donate to my Cash App. You can donate inside of chatting here. You can donate in there as well. But yeah, you can donate my Cash App also as well. You can send me an email. If you want to send me an email, you can send me an email to brent.inmyhead@gmail.com. And if you send me $10, I'll do something for you. I've had a few people send me money, and then I got crazy busy at work, and then I hurt myself and went on vacation and hurt myself. So, but I do have 2 videos coming out that are for people that paid. So, and they'll be coming out soon. One's a track versus track, and one's an album review. All right. That's all I've got, guys. Carla, thank you as always for being here and joining.
Of course, always glad to be here.
Emily, thanks for being on. I know that you two gals, they've been, the viewers have been wanting me to have both of you on for a while. And so it's good to have you. And Emily, you're welcome on the show anytime. And I know
it's always a pleasure.
I know the viewers won't fight me too much over that. So you guys are welcome anytime. And we appreciate each and every one of you out there watching, and hope that you enjoy, and hope you enjoyed it, and hope you have a good rest of your week. Continue to be safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Bye.